Kayvon Shrike. Kayvon Shrike is a renowned member of the Raven Guard chapter. Shrike is known as a master of stealth and informally the shadow captain of the 3rd Company. He currently holds the highest rank of a chapter Space Marine, chapter master, infiltration techniques, striking from deep within the darkness. So fast and deadly that by the time he's in to react, enemies have time, they are already consumed by Shrike's darkness. History. Kiavar. And as a young, early life, Shrike was born on the Imperial Forge world boy. He demonstrated his skills in stealth and infiltration. As a teenager, gang. Again, he worked as a runner for the Tarkle gang operating in the Hive City where Shrike lived. In the final years of his teenage years, he was hunted down by rival gang. Kayvon Shrike's fateful year finally came, thanks to the one he belonged to. And during his week on the run, Shrike ate mostly from high above, in the towers of the Hive City, wild mushrooms and drank from small puddles. However, the rival gang members were not the only ones on his trail. The chaplains of the Raven Guard, who roamed the cities of Kiavar in search of their neophytes in interest. When Shrike was cornered, were also watching Shrike's escape with increased. He made his pursuers pay dearly, killing 4 of them, but he to their base, where they tortured and abused. He was no match for the numbers that surrounded him. They took Shrike back, used him in order to extract as much information as possible. However, with his talent, Shrike killed the chaplains using jump packs from his captors. Shrike initially thought continued to escape and killed 3 more before being rescued by the Raven Guard chaplains were from another gang. So he fought back fiercely despite being severely injured and completely exhausted to take him with them to the Raven Guard's fortress monastery on the mountain. Realizing that Shrike's body was not suitable to become a space marine at this time, the chaplains decided a moon of deliverance for treatment and training. Kayvon Shrike was not a passive person. Since being brought to the fortress deepest parts of the fortress, he always tried to oppose his instructors and hide in the. But over time Shrike came to realize his duty to the great emperor and to humanity, and he gradually controlled his centuries. The hunt for Valdorius, his temper and abilities to become one of the most talented neophytes of the Raven Guard. During this time, Kayvon Shrike led the 3rd Company in a brief campaign on the world of Quintus. On Quintus, Aureus, Demon Prince of the Alpha Legion, who commanded the Chaos Space Marines as well as other Chaos forces, the Night Lords and the Alpha Legion sparked a rebellion against the Imperium. Led by Kernax Valdorius, Kayvon Shrike joined forces with Corsaro Khan, Commandorius. How Kayvon Shrike resolved Scar's chapter and master of the hunt, in order to obtain a bit of Valdorius blood, as well as bring Quintus back under the elves' conflict between chapter. In the warehouse of Clan Harmech chapter Iron Hand there was an ancient artifact called Brimstone. Tyrid immediately led his troops to chase and kill all the Dark Eldar but could heart. One fine day, a group of Dark Eldar broke into Harmech's warehouse to steal Brimstone Heart. Not find Brimstone Heart except for a piece of paper with the content, "Thank you," signed, Trazen the Infant, stripped of his rank for several months. Tyrid was therefore. One fine day, the Iron Hands suddenly heard that Brimstone Heart was currently on planet was being occupied by an orc Wak, Saladin II. So Tyrid immediately brought all of Clan Harmech there to get it. When they arrived, attack and the Brimstone Heart was being used as a battery to create an energy shield to protect the capital. So an argument broke out between the 2 chapters, Imperial Fist The other side was to turn iron hands when one side wanted to use it to protect the capital, determined to get it back at all costs. The two sides argued so intensely that they considered using their fists to talk at the planet to assist in destroying the Orc Wa, and decided to this time. The Raven Guard force of Chapter Master Kayvon Shrike had arrived on secretly destroy the Brimstone Heart and blame the orcs. There was no more reason to argue.
The warp is a strange,
So all three chapters turned to smash the orcs to relieve their anger.
and terrible place. You might as well throw a traveler into a sea of sharks and tell him to swim home as send him through the warp unprotected through the stars. Better still, let him. Better it is not to let common man travel, not know such a thing is feasible. The warp is a dimension that exists parallel to our own. It has many names: warp space, the immaterial, and the realm of chaos. The warp contains a lot, the sea of souls, of chaos energy, and is also the home of the chaos gods. The sea of souls has no fixed shape, nor is it subject to its energy is always disturbed normal laws of space and time, and cannot be balanced. To visualize it, the warp is like a purple ocean of energy with energy streams moving, flowing, undulating. Equipped spaceship can still enter and exit the warp easily. In waves, although it is different from our space, they are still related to each other. A fully fact, the warp is the only way for humans to travel to distant places in the galaxy without taking too much time due to its nonce. Just by breaking into the warp and riding a wave of its energy, we can go anywhere in the universe. Time nature. The formless wastes is a place in the warp that is not controlled by the chaos god. It is also home to warp creatures such as furies, gods. The energies of the greater demons or demon princes sometimes reach and influence it. The formless wastes, tusks, and gargoyles, who are forbidden by the chaos gods from entering their realm. They roam the wastes, seeking consume. The warp is a vital factor in lost souls of men and the survival of humanity. Starships can travel thousands of light years in a The Emperor's will is strong, but for it to reach all of humanity, it must travel through the warp. Matter of days by traveling through the warp. It is through this that humanity the warp is possible through special devices mounted on ships that allow them to enter or exit the warp, as well as travel within it like they would at sea. And who knows what might happen. This method of travel has its limitations, such as taking weeks or years to travel to distant places in a chaotic place like the warp. Place. At any given moment, an imbalance can turn a sector of the warp into a The warp is also a very violent storm of unimaginable destructive power. These storms can last for days or decades. Ships caught in the storms are, at best, crushed away. Dumped in some corner of the universe millions of light years. Lord Shiva and Parvati had 4 children: Ganesha, Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Wisdom had a mouse. Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, had a white owl. Saraswati, each of them had their own vahana or vehicle. Ganesha, the god of wealth, Parvati, the goddess of education, had a swan, and Kartik, the god of war, had a peacock. Shiva and Parvati were sitting together one day, and Ganesha and Kartik were playing nearby. Shiva decided to test their strength. He declared that of the two, would be seen as being the mightier one, the sibling who first completed circling the universe thrice. Promptly, Kartik set on his journey around on his peacock and sped off the universe. He traveled over the seas, the mountains, the earth, the moon, and the galaxies. He rushed to beat Ganesha. He knew that with a mouse for a vahana and a large pot rushed from one place to another in his belly, Ganesha would never be able to compete with him. sat peacefully at his parents' feet. He quietly got up and walked around his parents thrice. When Kartik came back, he was Meanwhile, Ganesha astonished to see Ganesha happily sitting in Shiva's lap. He could not understand. Ganesha said that his parents were his universe, and by circling them, he had proved himself. And how Ganesha could have returned before he did. Being head-headed, he accused Ganesha of being unfair. Shiva was very pleased with Ganesha's wisdom. He declared that before starting any work, this is why it is considered auspicious to people would first pray to Ganesha, worship Ganesha, before undertaking any task. As Krishna grew older, his pranks increased. Tales of his love for milk and butter had spread in every household. Whenever to break the milk pitchers. Knowing Krishna's love for milk products, Yashoda kept the butter jars tied together and hung them from a high ceiling where the milkmaids crossed the fields. Krishna and his friends shot pebbles at them. One day, seeing Krishna fast asleep, she went to fetch a bucket of water from the nearby well. Krishna jumped up and whistled aloud. They quickly huddled together to help Krishna stand on their shoulders and get down the jars. Came running into their home. Then they sat down to eat the butter. They were so absorbed that they did not see Yashoda enter the house. Krishna got a good spanking from his mother. Furious, she chased them with a stick. The monkeys and friends escaped, but Once, King Shantanu of Hastinapur met a woman named Ganga. Soon, Ganga gave vision that he would never ask her any questions, birth to a child but drowned him in the river. Shantanu was shocked. One by one, she drowned 6 more children. Finally, when she was going to drown her 8th child, was doing so. Shantanu asked her why She said that she was the goddess Ganga under a curse to be born as a human. The 8th child would have to live the life of a human, saying the children were Vasus Demi, gods, and she was freeing them of the curse. But since Shantanu had stopped her, so Ganga left. The 8th child grew up to be the great warrior Bhishma. One day, Yashoda got busy in her household chores, a whirlpool of dust all across the city of Gokul. Trinavarta rocketed higher and higher into the sky. The entire city was by himself. Just then, Kansa's servant, the demon Trinavarta, appeared in the form of a whirlwind and flew away with the child, raising a whirlwind covered with a dense cloud of dust, so thick that nobody could see anything. Yashoda got alarmed and, unable to find her baby, wept aloud. Trinavarta tried to take the baby on his shoulders, but Krishna made himself very heavy. Unable to bear Krishna's ground, Krishna became as huge as a mountain and grabbed Trinavarta's neck. The demon tried to get out of the clutches of Krishna. Throwing load, he was forced to come down on the hill and died.